Welcome to the first episode of the Wisdom Project for podcast, where we want to democratize wisdom. And my first guest is my partner, Clayton. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Nyakana. Clayton Nyakana. We met a few months ago, perhaps 10 months ago, doing one of the workshops that we like doing independently. And we became friends until one day he said, why don't we bring your Wisdom Project program to a community in Australia? And so we just did it. And after we finished last week, he said, we need to share this. Let's do a podcast. And so here we are. Welcome, Clayton. Um, the floor is yours. How was the program experience? What are your friends experiencing after completing the Foundational Wisdom Project program? And what else would you like to share with the community?
Well, thank you, Iris. It was such a lovely experience doing the Wisdom Project course. So, you know, like you've shared, it just started off by wanting to bring this to my community. My objective at the time was to have people around me or people within my community who I actually interact with regularly, um, to invite them into this corner of the internet, if you may call it that. For a long time, it's been something that's just online for me, but I was trying to take it, you know, off the internet and bring it into a community, and so we can engage and keep practicing more in a
So
communal setting.
can you give us
Yeah.
a little of your background? So you
Oh,
are
yes.
in Australia and
Yes.
yeah, say a little more. You are in project management, software project management. So say a little more of your background.
So my background, um, my name is Clayton Nyakana, like I shared, and I am a business analyst. That's what I'm working as in the software space. So I consult with clients and using agile uh, processes to, agile software delivery to guide teams and facilitate software delivery. So that's what I do for work. Um, and prior, prior to that, I come from a background of studying technology. So I started out as a software developer or software engineer and have worked different roles in the software space. Um, yeah, but that's my professional life. And along the way, growing up, I got interested in philosophy and personal development over a few years ago, and I've been pursuing that on my own. What's the term they would use? Autodidactically, and following different authors and different professors and their works and all the works being published. And I think it's until John Vervaeke's work, the Awakening from Meaning Crisis course, that really took this to the next level. And while I've been following that work since it came out, because I came across it through while I was going through one of Jordan Peterson's courses, which are on YouTube. And then he mentioned this course, and then I went to check it out, and then it was very interesting. And that's how I kept going into this side of, you'd say, the internet. And fast forward to 2021 December, uh, Vervaeke hosted Taylor on his Voices with
Taylor
Vervaeke.
Barrett from Authentic Relating Toronto. Yes.
Yes, yeah. And he shared about the work they're doing there and how they're cultivating, you know, authentic relating practices. And then he shared about a course he was preparing to run, sort of integrating what they were doing with Vervaeke's work, and they came up with this course called the Dialogos Kano, and it was meant to run for about 13 weeks. It was very interesting, like a very interesting opportunity. So I signed up for that, and that's where we meet with Iris and a few other friends, and we start that fellowship, um, where we really go into unpacking these, you'd say, what is the term they use? The ecology of practices, the ecology of wisdom practices. And so we did that for a few months, and through that, I think that's when, Iris, you are sort of like birthing the wisdom project. And by the time we're done with, I think the second phase of the Dialogos kernel, uh, that's when you invite me to come to do the wisdom project. But then the time zone wasn't lining up, and we decide, I propose that if I find people in my time zone, maybe we could make this work. And you were
Because
very,
I'm in Boston and we have 14 hours difference in our,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Yeah, but you were very generous to accept to do that. And fast forward, we set it up and we get a cohort, I think, of about 6 people, and it happens. And yeah, and that's what I've been talking about with you recently, how the, my experience itself was, when I came into the course, uh, I was really curious to see how do you run this course, and how do you take the complex body of work of the wisdom domain, you know, and why I say complex is because when I first encountered John Vervaeke's Awakening from the Meaning Crisis, 50, uh, 50 hours of, of, of information, and I'm going like, is there no like summarized version of this? And there wasn't. It's like, here it is, there's just 50 of them, and you have to do all of them if you want to know what they're about. And I did them the first time. That was very interesting. I did them again. By the time I went to do this course, I think I'd gone through them about 3 times. Uh, and it's a very complex material, not difficult, but it's too many. It's a very broad spectrum that has is so rich. It's it's almost sacred, because like every time you encounter it, you learn something new that was not there before. Um, so it's that kind of material, uh, and it's not summarizable. So it's like you engage with all of it, or that's it. Because I remember when I first encountered it, I tried to share this with my friends, people in my community, and it was just bizarre. It's like I don't have 50 hours to to spend, and I'd make offers like, look, if you find it interesting, maybe we can walk through it together, sort of like, how you do a book club, right? Watch a video, watch an hour, and review it together and progress through that. But still, that was difficult. It's just too big a commitment for someone to make, especially upfront. So that has always been something puzzling me. How do you translate that whole space and make it available for someone who is not even interested but may benefit from it, right? Bringing those two worlds together. And from your proposition in the Wisdom Project and how it's structured, it sounded like this is what you are attempting to do. And I was curious to witness this. I was like, will it really work? And if it doesn't work, where at which point does it break, and how could it be made to work? Because I think there has to be a thing like that. Um, so really, that's what drew me in. But then in the tradition of the Wisdom Project, you need to get a project that you're gonna work on for the duration of the course. So I had my writing project, which is the thing that I've been trying to really cultivate and get better at. And so that was my project for the course.
Yeah. So
Um,
the what differentiates from the start the participation in the Wisdom Project, as you said, is that please have a project. You have to come into the program with a doable project. Could be to improve the relationship with somebody, your mother-in-law, for instance, or a sister. Could be your writing project like you had. Could be a project of self-care to be more disciplined in a particular area of your life, because the project is going to show you progress. And that's what we need to walk this very long path, which is to try to achieve wisdom and follow the example of Socrates or the Buddha or Jesus or any other sage of history. So, with a project, with one little step at a time, we can aspire to wisdom. And that's kind of the central concept of the Wisdom Project, because otherwise we cannot democratize wisdom, which is what I want to do. Make wisdom accessible to all. So that's my task, using the wonderful umbrella, the wonderful platform, conceptual platform that John Vervaeke has created. And of course, the work of many, many, many cognitive scientists and psychologists and philosophers who have created things that allow me to put together a series of sessions where people see themselves walking towards wisdom, the light of wisdom, walking towards that.
yes, and it's beautifully constructed because hearing you say that, I'm reminded of the agent arena relationship and why the agent and the arena have to be in that very tightly coupled relationship, modifying each other. And I think centering it around a project sort of creates the dojo where to practice these ecologies, and it's bounded and it's manageable enough. It's not everywhere, right? You you have a practice place and you have a way to apply the skills to the project, and you can track that project like the progress as you have mentioned. And yeah, that was fascinating. But the interesting thing is when I was, getting my friends interested, and telling them, hey, so there is this course that I want to do. It's called the Wisdom Project. Will you come and do it with me? And they would ask me all these questions. What is it about? What is it going to do? Um, you know, have you done it before? And my answer is no, I've not done it before. It's like, okay, so what are you talking about, right? But then, I do my best to persuade them. I know Iris, and we've worked on these different things, and she does this kind of work. So I'm pretty confident that it's a good thing, right? It's really trust based. Uh, but yeah, so we get in and we start the course. And interestingly, oh, at the end of every session, it was exciting because, you'd you'd see it always went a little bit over each time. People didn't want to leave. People were, it's sort of, it would start off slow. People are tired trying to get into it. And by the time we're getting done, there's so much energy and so much excitement about all the new tools that have been shared and the new practices and so much in there. And as we progress through each week, you'd start to hear the sharing, from the participants changing, and people starting to tell about how they are applying this in their own lives, actually, how it's starting to impact how they do certain things. Um, and this was fascinating. First of all, for me, I'm participating and I'm familiar with some of these tools, but hearing how the other people are applying them was enriching for me because now I was building on top of what I already knew, and I'm expanding my application of these tools. Uh, not only that, um, sharing, sort of like reaffirming that the way I have benefited from these tools would also encourage them to uh, trust the process and want to work with it more. And slowly by slowly, through the different weeks, we started to pick up on the descriptions used by the different participants. And you'd start to reference so and so's way of doing this or so and so's way of describing this. And by the time we got to the final session, it was just marvelous that uh, everyone was sharing a way they had transformed, and they through their own experience of it, like they they had this weird way of talking about it. It's as though they were still themselves. They were very aware of this, that they did not change who they were, but they were also not the same way they were. And there was a strange way of talking about oneself, which was like in a multiplicity way. Like, they were more than just the individual, right? They would speak about themselves and when they're in this situation and themselves when they are not, and they're having this internal dialogue that is going on now, and a lot of contemplation about the experiences, which was just amazing. Now, these people have not, like, I know most of them have not gone through John Vervaeke's awakening from the meaning crisis, but they're talking about the effects he's talking about in a different way. And so between when I describe this to you, it's just like, I was like, oh yes, it's kind of this thing that John talks about exactly, but they discover it on their own. Um, Through applying these tools and practicing and learning from each other. So that has been so fascinating to witness because, when you witness something like that, then you your experience changes. It's like now I take it even more seriously than I did before. I'm revisiting and reapplying the tools and going through some of them, repracticing. See, what could I have missed here? Maybe because everybody sort of like has their own set that they are working with. They're not using the whole set. So, but I want to expand my set. So I'm going back and reviewing my set to see, uh, wow, what else could I be using in a situation like this? Um, Somebody shared with me that now they have, they used to struggle to meditate, and but it's because of how the idea of meditation has been presented to them. So, oh, you have to sit down and do this for this long every day, and that does not work for them. But then they have discovered that, oh, I can do a body scan in a minute, and that would help center me and be able to allow me to refocus my attention. And that's all I need to do to keep going through a difficult part of my day. And for them, that is how they're applying their meditation. It's not like I need to wait when I can find, 30 minutes to sit down. It's more realizing the moment in the situation when I need to slow down and do a body scan or, have a breath meditation. How do you call it? Anapana? Yeah.
Awareness
Um,
of breath meditation or anapana or the body
yeah.
scan vipassana. And we use
Yes.
that to center into the here and now so we can
Yeah.
access the multiplicity of the richness of experience that usually we have not access because we are locked into our current understanding of who we are and where are we in life. So
Exactly.
the process, Clayton, for me, it looks like people learn to parent themselves. All the love
Yes.
they feel for their children somehow is awakened towards themselves. So that's why they start talking about we, like the multiple I, the multiple Iris, the multiple Claytons. And we are parenting ourselves in this journey towards wisdom. We haven't talked about this, but the conceptualization of the work, John Vervaake's work, and the work of so many scientists trying to understand wisdom. For me, my own grounding of it came from my experience as a consultant. And you and I, we both go to companies and we work with people with a particular project, and they have to solve a challenge. And we cannot waste their time trying to educate them with the background that we have that allow us to make the project run smoothly, to help the teams integrate themselves in an efficient way. So we just go and share little bits of the knowledge we have to make them move to the next phase. And that's how I created the Wisdom Project. And this is the first time I share this with you. Do you see that in our common
Yes.
experience, transforming teams implemented in the Wisdom Project?
Definitely. And it was very, it felt so familiar. It's like I feel like I know what I'm doing here. Like we've done this before. And I like really how you've described it there. It's really what we're doing, with our clients, consulting, using the agile methodology, break it down into something small, something manageable, um, focus on the now, work on this part, finish it, get it done, and then we can see about the next part and keep adjusting as we go, have that flexibility. And it works. And part of it is because you don't really have to worry about the whole big thing or to worry about when it's going to end. If you lose those constraints for a moment, you're sort of like you become free to really do the small thing you're working on really well. Um, and I think that model applied for, you know, wisdom distribution, I think it works because, like, I'll share an example. Like, I'll do this with my own children at home, uh, trying to introduce a new concept, right? Like my son today, I challenged him to empty the dishwasher and load it. And he's done one of those tasks separately, like he would empty the dishwasher, put the utensils wherever. I always give him a holding space, kind of what we do at work, where I think we call it the parking lot, where if something comes up during the session and you don't know what to do with it, you put it in the parking lot so you can review it later. So I gave him this.
I'm gonna interrupt just to give the audience a little flavor of what you and I are talking about. We do agile coaching. We go to an organization to teach them how to address a complex challenge in little chunks, with the benefit that after a period of time, a short period of time, they will see a result, a positive result. And if this is not positive, they will learn how to adjust their work to deliver results. And this methodology has been practiced for years. It started originally in Toyota many years ago, trying to improve the cycles of production. And then the software industry, because they had so many bugs, so many problems, that 90% of the cost of new software was just repairing the problems that were created through development. So they developed these methodologies that now are common in the business world. And though I'm not a software engineer, I'm an engineer originally, but never a software engineer, I use it to help organizations move to a more effective place. I use it to help teams to be more efficient. So it's called agile methodology, because you are agile. You run quickly and solve problems quickly. And when something appears, a problem that you never thought of, you put it on a place called the parking lot. And we call it a place because we use a lot of to-do lists, and sometimes we do them on the internet, but on the computer, but sometimes we do it in physical spaces. And in corporations, the executives love to see the physical space with a list, because they can enter the room and see the progress throughout the period. We call it a sprint, through the 4 or 6 weeks of the sprint. So that whole philosophy, years of doing it, years of being a project management professional myself, I pour it into the Wisdom Project to make it possible in 7 weeks, 7 sessions, for people to see results. And we have not
And
talked about this, Clayton, but
no, it's beautiful that we're talking about this now because it's all coming together, and I'm actually seeing it, and yeah. So I was telling you before uh, that I gave my son his parking lot because he had these questions. Uh, it's like, so Dad, what do I do when I don't know where to put, you know, the thing that I take out of the dishwasher? And I was like, good question. You put it over here. This is the holding place for all the things you don't know where to put. Everything else, I'm assuming you're going to know. And it's not so big, it's small, so only use it when you must. And I went back to work and he did it. He only came to check once to to tell me he's transitioning from emptying the dishwasher to loading it. And he went on, he did it. He finished the task. He was very proud of himself and he called me to come and see his completed task. He had made some mistakes, uh, but it was fine. Uh, but I remember what I was doing for him because when I asked him to do it, he was telling me how big it is, and he had all these reasons as to why he should not do it, and why it's going to take too long, and how he may not reach the cabinet where he needs to put some things, and how it may be he may make a mess. And I was telling him for each of those concerns that it's okay. You just need to focus on emptying it and putting back what you put in. Don't worry about putting it in the correct way or putting it in the wrong way. Just put everything in. And once you've done that, we can see before we turn it on whether it's in a good state to work or not, and we'll fix it as we go. And that was able to sort of like throw away his worries and just allow him to do it because now he didn't have to correct it as he was doing it. He just had to do it, um, which is very similar to the thing we're doing with the project, in the Wisdom Project. It's there's no wrong way to apply the tool. Um, you're going to apply the tool and you're going to have an experience. Uh, there is no such thing as a wrong experience. There's just different experiences. And I think not being constrained by the the kind of experience to expect uh, allows people to really learn how to customize the tool for themselves. Because in the next session, when they share back about the experience, they all are different experiences, but then you start to hear like a similarity between them because they were all following a similar framework of applying the tool. And I think that that was a very profound thing to witness, um, and encouraging as well. And in some of the sessions, even you yourself, Irish, you shared how you are learning new things from the what people were sharing because all these are new experiences. It's kind of like here's the tool. We don't know what you're gonna come up with. Um, Maybe you get to invent something that none of us has seen before, and it happened a lot. It wasn't just a one-off. So yeah, it was such a beautiful experience. That's my long-winded way of saying it.
It was an experience. It's like I try to run the sessions like a ritual with a beginning and an end, trying to enter into that space of experiencing flow and something new, using what? Tools like the awareness of breath and the Vipassana meditation, which are very old, invented by Buddha, somebody called Gautama the Buddha 2,500 years ago, but also using something very contemporary like the um, Solomon paradox, which is a discovery of Professor Igor Grossman of the University of Chicago, who discovered that people are wise in certain areas and not so wise in others, like Solomon was. Therefore, we use that in the Wisdom Project to teach people to aspire to wisdom and to see where they are already wise and use that to propel themselves to the quest for wisdom. So it's a combination of ancient tools and new tools that people learn to play with during the 7 sessions of the Wisdom Project. So, Clayton, now that you have talked with your friends, and I believe everybody's really, really satisfied, where do you think we should take this next? You suggested we do the podcast because that way it would be easier for people to understand what is that we are doing with the Wisdom Project. You also were very adamant that we create a community, a platform, and we already did. It was launched last week, and we hope people to come to the platform to share their own experiences, but also to contribute with videos and essays and exercises. We hope to make it a wisdom community, not only the foundational course that I created. So what else do you see happening?
Yeah, I see, like we've spoken a little bit about this before. I see, uh, everyone like having a platform where they can, uh, it's interesting you shared the tagline of democratizing wisdom. I think
Mhm.
everyone is wise. Like we've talked about this before. Everyone is wise in their own way. Everyone has a different flavor of wisdom. Um, so having a place where that wisdom can be harnessed and shared with others, I think is what makes it powerful. Because one one interesting thing about the doing the course was that you had people in there who are like deeply experienced, right, in participating in some of these you'd say practices, and then you had people who were seeing them for the first time, and a combination of these was what made it really rich. Um, and you did say this like on a couple of occasions whereby it sounded as if the class was teaching itself in many ways, because we would be having a mindful conversation during the class, like in the middle, and then it leads to a place where it's like, oh, that is the next thing that we're going to cover, and we're already talking about it. And this happened not just once, it happened more than once, and it was always very strange that, it's like naturally the information sort of like revealed itself during the course itself. Um, but yeah, so I think one of the things that made it really powerful was that we had each other, each other's wisdom to borrow and consume. Not just the tools were there, but more importantly, when we were all there together, we created uh, it's a new intellect, right? or how it was another logos of sorts, which now was giving to each of us uh, more than what we could put into it. And I think that is what needs to be continued, and through a community platform, Uh, that's wonderful. It should continue. And I'm thinking that it should not only be that. You did share that there's a monthly call where all the graduates are getting together to share experiences. I think that's useful. Having a platform, like this, a podcast type of setup where we're talking about these things is going to help uh, spread that wisdom even further. But not just that. I think even within, the places like uh, where I'm based here in Brisbane, like with my colleagues, we attended the course. I can still meet them. We can still get together at a restaurant and really share experiences and uh, build that community, like make it stronger, make it deeper. Um, because when the you'd say the knowledge is embedded in a community, then we strengthen the participation. We can rely on each other as as we practice, as we use these tools, or if we need support in any way. Something I think a couple of people shared was uh, it was such a relief to know that I can come to this place whereby when I share my experience, I know it is well received, and it's going to be accepted, and it's going to even probably I'll get recommendations that may improve it, but I will not be ridiculed for what I bring in here. It's like I'll be received and accepted. Like I feel safe when I'm in this kind of place, and I think a lot of people need that. A lot of people need a space where they can come and feel safe to uh, be themselves and learn freely, uh, or speak carelessly, right? Like how Vivek has spoken about that, right? We need the space to be able to speak carelessly and know that the, our truth of what we're saying will be received, and our mistakes will sort of, be discarded or will help to be fixed. What was it? The rule omega? Yeah, using the rule omega, right? Like take whatever the 20% of what I'm really trying to say and fix the 80% so I can get better. So having a space where this is possible is what takes it to the next level. And I think, yeah, all these things are necessary and probably more that we don't know yet, but
Yeah.
they will reveal themselves. Yeah.
And I'm aware of the time. To close, I want to ask you, you wanted them to go with you and with people like me on the journey that John Vervaeke has taken us with his wonderful, miraculous almost contribution of the 50 videos, the series Awakening from the Meaning Crisis. But as you said, I have had the same issue. People come with me and I accompany them in 2 or 3 videos, or I introduce them to a particular one that I think they will resonate with. But then I think you have to have the type of philosophical mind or interest to get into it, like you and I have. So I haven't been successful in making people go through the whole journey with me. Um, but now you gave the experience to your friends without the names yet, because we didn't talk about the 4 Ps or recurrent relevant realization. We didn't. We just experienced. We experienced. So how do you feel that you brought this knowledge about wisdom, this new way of being in the world, to your community, to your friends that you cultivate so dearly around you and your family?
It's it, it feels like an accomplishment. I feel like I opened a door, right? That I didn't think I was gonna manage to open. Um, and I feel encouraged to keep doing that. And one thing I forgot to mention was how, the Wisdom Project, sort of like really creates that bridge, right? Like I've used the metaphor of being a sacred icon of the wisdom world because it sort of like beautifully summarizes it and puts it in this small bit that and for most people they may not really know how big this space is because like when I say it summarizes it and makes it this small thing that in just 7 weeks you're able to sort of
Seven
like
weeks, 2 hours, 2 hours every session online. It's
I
like,
know
wow.
remotely you're able to experience flow consistently and learn how to cultivate it for yourself without being told exactly that that's what you need to do.
Yeah, because
Uh,
I mentioned flow during the sixth session. I never do it before. And then they look,
yeah,
well, oh, that's what we have been doing.
exactly. And it's just amazing because one thing is you don't really have to. I think what's disproven for me is like, oh, you don't really have to say what the things are. Uh, you can, it's the power of that fourth P, the participatory, the power of participatory, the ritualization. It's like, look, just come on, let's experience this ritual together, and you'll have an experience, and leave it open for them. They get to it on their own and on their own terms and in their own way. So it's deeper and they own it more. And it's customized for them by themselves. It's it's true. It's a democratic it's a democratic way of doing it. So yeah, like I just feel privileged that I'm able to see both sides of what's going on, right? And 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 manage to separate, the technical, the academic from the experiential and just let it flourish. Because when it's happening in real time, it's so exciting that you want to stop it and like, whoa, hold on, do you know what you just did? Uh, you just you just started to cultivate your own insights and you're tracking them in this way. But I mean, if you say it that way, they probably are not. What are you talking about? I'm just doing this little thing. It's like, yes, but it's so powerful in so many ways. and and you don't want to say too many things because then you may make it, I don't know, less interesting. So you just want to let the experience to continue happening and just witness it. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
for
mean,
me, yeah,
naming it is like taking a cup of water from the river and say, okay, this is what you experience. No, they experience the river, not the
yeah,
cup of water. So that's why I don't like naming it. After a while, I say, okay, this is what we have been doing. But that's it. After a
yeah,
while, after they already are filled with the experience of swimming in the river, then I say, okay, this is this.
yeah. I'll be curious though to, and I think this is probably an experiment for you to try to have it. It would be probably more logistically challenging to run it in person for a whole 7 weeks. Uh, but I think that would be an interesting comparison to see if how does the experience change and how does it impact the participants? Because throughout, since COVID till is there, the rise of the video calling platforms, uh, I think they have afforded an appropriate medium, which is sort of doing something similar to what the Wisdom Project is doing. it's sort of like allowing us to interact safely and choicefully, um, and intentionally. It sort of like creates that arena where we can interact on a specific thing and then be able to leave without too much consequence, which I think may be different in an in-person setup. Uh, because there's all the cordial cultural expectations that sort of like get blended in that case, which are stripped away from like a video setup. And
Yes, yes.
yeah,
So we'll get there. We'll get there. I like doing Kaizen events, that it's the experience to solve a problem with a organizational community. You just go and pluff there. I have that experience, and also running workshops for corporations. I have that experience. I have many years of working to transform people and communities of people. So I have trust that translating this into a face-to-face environment will also flourish.
yeah,
Uh,
because that would be interesting to have. In the future, you have different, say, people meeting up in different cities,
yeah,
um, to share the experiences and sort of like, trade experiences, trade their wisdom, right? Have a
let's
platform where they can trade their
yeah,
wisdom.
let's create a wisdom project, a movement that will try to democratize wisdom. And already one of the members of your group already said she's going to organize a festival, and somebody else from another group already said she's going to organize a conference. So let's hope for that, and let's find ways of creating the infrastructure that would allow people to be engaged. So that's where my thinking goes now. What is the structure that will make it democratic, that will make people feel invited to participate and feel that they want to invite their friends, as you did, to participate?
Yes, I think that is, you know, that's a good way of doing this. It's a very good way because one thing I've been hearing from, my friends is they have their friends whom they want to invite now. They're like, oh, I know two people who need to come and do this course. And
Yeah.
I'm going like, yeah,
And you know that they want
like
to,
I know.
they can come twice. Like I am finishing a cohort, and it would be 5 people who have come back. At the beginning, I said, no, 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 wait. We're going to do a second level, and Vervaeke is going to help me. And then said, no, no. They said, no, 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 I want to come back. And now that I have 5 people finishing the Wisdom Project for the second time, I am seeing the benefits. It's like when I go to my meditation retreat, it's the same format, but every time I'm changed. Therefore, I have new experiences. So that's what is happening too. I am also, as you said, I'm learning. I am so privileged that I got the courage to do this, to blend all my 30 years of experience working with organizations to try to manifest, democratize all the knowledge that John Vervaeke has put together and so many other scientists. And I see it working. I see it
It's
working.
it's I commend you on having the courage to actually, put it out there in the tradition of the Wisdom Project to actually go and try and see what happens. And I think that alone, taking that step, it just encourages me in my own Wisdom Project and to kind of like keep, you know, sharing it with my friends. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this.
All right, we'll keep working together. Thank you for the podcast, for the idea of doing a podcast, and we'll keep working together. Thank you, Clayton.
And Cyrus.